Have you ever watched the sun go down and felt that quiet moment when everything seems to slow down? Or seen a tree in winter, bare and still, yet full of memories from spring and summer? That's exactly what Shakespeare captures in Sonnet 73, a poem about growing old, running out of time, and still being loved through it all. This isn't just about poetry, it's about life, loss, and lasting love. Let's explore this sonnet together, line by line, and unlock every hidden message inside it. Most poems have titles that give us clues about their meaning, but not this one. Shakespeare didn't give his sonnets titles. He simply numbered them, and this one is the 73rd in his famous collection of 154 sonnets. So how do people talk about this poem? Some refer to it as Sonnet 73. Others quote the first line instead. That time of year thou mayst in me behold. Either way, the title doesn't give us much, but the poem itself is full of rich metaphors and meaning. If asked about the title, explain that Shakespeare's sonnets are numbered and this one is often identified by its number or opening line. Now let's look at the type and structure of this poem. This poem follows the traditional form of a Shakespearean sonnet, also called an English sonnet or Elizabethan sonnet. Here is how it is built. 14 lines in total, divided into 3 quatrains, that is 4 lines each stanza. 1 rhyming couplet, that is the last 2 lines. The rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. It is in iambic pentameter, meaning that each line has 10 syllables with a rhythm that sounds like a heartbeat. Da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum. This steady beat gives the poem a calm, flowing sound, which fits the quiet, reflective tone of the speaker. In Sonnet 73, the turning point happens in the final rhyming couplet, lines 13 and 14. This is where the speaker shifts from describing aging and death to a final passage about love becoming stronger because time is short. Now let's look at the first quatrain, which is autumn metaphor. In line number 1, that time of year thou mayst in me behold. In line 1, the speaker is talking to someone close, maybe a lover or companion, and says, you can see a certain time of year in me. He doesn't say which time yet, but the next line reveals it's late autumn, the season just before winter. That tells us using nature to describe how he's growing old. That is a metaphor. The speaker compares his stage of life to a season of the year, and also inversion is used. The word order is changed for the poetic rhythm. Normally it would be, you may behold that time of year in me. So the message here is, the speaker is aging and is gently letting his loved one know that it's visible in him, just like the signs of the seasons are visible in nature. Line number 2, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang. He continues the thought by describing a tree in late autumn. The yellow leaves represent what's left of his youth. Some trees still have a few leaves, others none at all. That is how he feels, still alive, but almost everything youthful has fallen away. So there is a symbolism of leaves which shows youth, life, and energy. So the yellow leaves symbolizes old age. Again, we can say there is a metaphor. The speaker is continuing the comparison between himself and a tree. Again, we can even talk about enjambment. The idea from line 1 flows directly into this line with no pause. So the message here is, just like a tree near winter, I only have a little life in me. The rest has already fallen. Line number 3. Upon those boughs which shake against the cold. Now we see those same branches shaking in the cold wind. This shows physical weakness. The speaker feels the chill of old age. Just as trees shake in the wind, he too feels fragile and exposed. So there is a personification here. The branches are described as if they have human feelings. They shake against the cold. Also, symbolism of the cold. The cold symbolizes death or the discomfort of growing old. Also, we can talk about the consonants. The sh sound in shake and bows mimic the wind and create a soft, cold tone. So the message here is, my body, like these bare branches, is struggling against the cold truth of aging. It's hard and I feel it deeply. Line number 4. Bare wind choirs, where let the sweet birds sing. He ends the quatrain with a powerful image. The tree branches are now compared to wind church choirs, where the sweet birds, symbolizing youth and joy, used to sing. Now the branches, like the choirs, are empty and silent. So this is an extended metaphor where the bare trees means the speaker's body. Then in historical allusion, in Shakespeare's time, many churches were destroyed, leaving behind hollow choir stalls. Again, we can talk about the alliteration. Sweet birds sang. Sound there. It uses soft S sound to imitate beautiful fading music. So the message here is, there was once joy, energy, and music in my life, but now it's quiet. The birds are gone, just like my youth. Now let's move on to second quatrain, which is Twilight metaphor. Line number 5. In me thou seest the twilight of such day. Now the speaker switches metaphors. Instead of a season, he compares himself to twilight, the time of day just after sunset. He says to his loved one, you can see twilight in me. In other words, my light is fading, but not gone yet. You can say there is a metaphor where twilight means the end of life, just like the end of a day. Also, a symbolism. This is the peaceful time between life and death. So the message here is, I'm at the stage in life where the sun is setting. It is not dark yet, but the day is almost over. Now let's move to line number 6. As after sunset fadeth in the west. He continues the metaphor by saying the light fades in the west after sunset. The west often symbolizes the end. This is where the sun dies, just like the speaker feels his life fading. Again, we can say there is a simile there. As after sunset, it compares his life to fading light. Again, the symbolism of the west meaning death or the end of life. When it comes to diction, the word fadeth suggests slow, gentle fading, not a sudden loss. So the message here is, I'm not gone yet, but my energy, my time, and my presence are all slowly fading, like the sky after sunset. Line number 7, which by and by black night doth take away. Now the twilight is taken away by black night, a metaphor for death. The phrase by and by means soon or gradually. He knows that death is close and it's coming slowly. So there is a symbolism Black night symbolizes death. Also a metaphor where a night swallows the night, just as death eventually takes life. Also the alliteration by and by black. The repetition of the B sound slows the pace and adds heaviness. So the message here is, my light is being taken, not suddenly, but steadily, by the dark certainty of death. Now let's move to line number 8. Death's second self, that seals up all in rest. Night is now described as death's second self, a poetic way of saying that night is like a practice version of death. When night comes, everything goes to sleep. When death comes, everything rests forever. So the metaphor night means death's twin or shadow. Again, we can talk about personification, where night seals up everything, meaning like gently closing a book or putting someone to bed. So the message here is, just like night quietly ends the day, death quietly ends life. It's peaceful, not frightening. Now let's go to the third quatrain, fire metaphor. In line number 9, in me thou seest the glowing of such fire. Now the speaker switches to a new metaphor. This time, he compares himself to a fire that is nearly burnt out. He tells his loved one, you can see the glow of a fire in me, not the full flames of youth, but the soft dying embers. So there is a metaphor here of fire, meaning life. So glowing embers, it's old age. This line begins with the third major metaphor of the poem, after autumn and the twilight. Also we have imagery. The warm glow of fading coals brings a feeling of both beauty and sadness. So the meaning here is, there is still a small flame in me, but most of what once burned brightly is now fading into its final glow. Now we come to the third quatrain, fire metaphor, which is continuing from the second quatrain. In line number 10, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie. In line 10, we continue the fire metaphor. The fire, representing the speaker's life, is now lying on ashes. These ashes stand for the remains of the wood that once made it burn strongly, and in this case, they represent the speaker's youth. This is a symbolism. Ashes is the past, or more specifically, his youth that has now burned out. There is also a gentle personification happening. The fire seems to have a body. It lies like a person does. So the message here is, the speaker is still alive, but his youth is gone. What is left is a soft glow lying on memories. Line number 11. As the deathbed whereon it must expire. In line 11, Shakespeare deepens the image. He compares the ashes to a deathbed, the place where the fire will finally die out. That's another metaphor. Ashes meaning a bed for dying. The speaker is saying, I know I'm close to death. I'm lying on the remains of my past self. This line is emotional. It is not angry or scared, just calm. Like someone who knows their time is ending and they've made peace with it. There is no rhyme break here either. Everything flows smoothly, just like a fire slowly going out. Line number 12. Consumed with what which it was nourished by. In line number 12, we hit one of the most powerful ideas in the poem. The fire is dying, being consumed or destroyed by the same thing that once nourished it. In simple words, the fire is killed by what once kept it alive. This is a paradox, meaning two opposite ideas in one line. It is also irony. Life, youth, and time gave him strength, but now they are the same things taking him away. It's almost like Shakespeare is saying, we are born to live, but everything that makes us grow also brings us closer to the end. And that, learners, is deep. Now let's look at the final rhyming couplet, which is the turning point or the volta. Line 13. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong. In line 13, we see the volta, the emotional shift in the poem. He is saying, you, my beloved, can see all of this. How I'm aging, how I'm fading, and instead of loving me less, you love me even more. The word perceived means you understand or you realize. So this is a very emotional line. The structure here is iambic. Da, dum, da, dum. And the short, firm words make the message clear and strong. So, what is the poetic device? Theme of love, not based on looks or youth, but based on deep understanding and appreciation. Let's go to the last line, which is line number 14. Love that one which thou must live ere long. In the final line, line 14, he gives the big message of the poem. You love deeply because you know you will lose me soon. The phrase ere long means before long, meaning I will die soon. There is irony here. The closer we are to death, the stronger love becomes. Instead of breaking apart, the bond gets deeper. So this last line is a warning we don't have forever. A gift. That is what makes love real. A conclusion. Love isn't about how long. It's about how deeply. And learners, if you take only one thing from this poem, it should be this. Time passes, but love remains. Let's sum it all up in simple words, line by line, theme by theme. So if you look at line number 1 to number 4, the meaning there was that the speaker is in autumn of life, aging like trees losing leaves. So the devices that we find there, it's a metaphor, personification, and also alliteration. In line number 5 to 8, it simply means life was compared to twilight, fading into death. So our figures of speech were metaphor, symbolism, simile, alliteration. Line number 9 to 12, life is like a fire burning out, lying on ashes of youth. So we have a metaphor, symbolism, irony, and paradox there. So line 13 and 14, simply we agree that love grows stronger because time is running out, where we have the irony, theme of love, and mortality. So before we close, let's go over the big themes again. Keep this in mind for exams. Theme number 1, love. This sonnet is ultimately a love poem, even though it focuses on aging and death. The speaker is addressing a person he loves, and he reflects on how his aging body and nearing death don't weaken their love. Instead, they make it stronger. Look at line 13 and 14. This thou perceived, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must live ere long. So he's saying, because you see me fading, you love me more deeply. This is not a young or shallow love. It's a real, lasting love. A kind of love that values every moment because it knows time is limited. If the examiner asks you to explain how the poem shows love, refer to the couplet, which is line 13 and 14, and explain that love depends when we know our time with someone is short. Number 2, aging. So here you're accepting the decline of life. The entire poem is about growing older. The speaker compares his aging to nature, losing its color and life. For example, in line number 2, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang. This describes a tree in autumn, and it represents how the speaker feels no longer young, but not yet dead. His strength, energy, and youth are mostly gone, just like the last few leaves hanging on a branch. For example, line number 5, in me thou seest the twilight of such day. Twilight is the last light. Twilight means the last light of the day, meaning old age. So the metaphor here shows that the speaker is nearing the end of his life, just like twilight is near the end of the day. For example, line number 9, in me thou seest the glowing of such fire. Now his life is compared to the last glow of a fire that is about to burn out, the final stage of aging. So all three metaphors, the tree, the twilight, and the fire, represent the same theme, that time has passed and old age is here. Theme number 3, death or mortality, so facing the end of life. Shakespeare also explored the theme of mortality. That means the fact that we all die. Example, line number 7, which by and by black night doth take away. Here, black night is a symbol of death. It's slowly taking away the light, just like death slowly takes away life. Example number 2, line number 8, death's second self, that seals up all in rest. Night is called death's second self, which can also mean sleep. But more than that, it shows that death brings a kind of final rest. Example number 3, in line 11, as the deathbed whereon it must expire. This line directly mentions a deathbed, the place where the fire or life will finally die out. This theme helps learners understand that the speaker is not afraid of death. He sees it as natural and even peaceful. Theme number 4, time, the unstoppable flow of life. Another important theme is time, how it moves forward and how we can't control it. Look at the structure of the metaphors in each quatrain. Quatrain number 1 is life, symbolized by a season, autumn to winter. Quatrain number 2 again is life, meaning a day, twilight to night. Quatrain number 3 again life, symbolizing a fire, burning to ashes. Each metaphor becomes shorter in time, from a year to a day to a few minutes, the time it takes for a fire to burn out. This shows that time is moving faster and faster, and it's running out, just like in real life. The older we get, the faster time seems to go. If you are asked about the theme of time, explain how Shakespeare uses these natural images to show time running out and how it brings change, loss, and eventually death. Theme number 5, nature and the human life cycle. Shakespeare uses the world of nature, trees, sunsets, fire, to explain human aging and death. For example, a tree losing its leaves, line 2 and 3, a sunset fading into darkness, line number 6. A fire turning into ashes, lines number 9 until 12. These natural images make the speaker's message easier to understand. Just like trees, the sun, and fire, humans also go through a life cycle. We grow, we bloom, we fade, and then we are gone. But just like nature, there is beauty in every stage. Now let us look at the tone and the mood. The tone is the speaker's attitude or feelings. In this sonnet, Shakespeare's tone is calm. He is not panicking about death. Thoughtful. He is carefully thinking about his life. Honest. He tells the truth about aging. Gentle and sad, but never angry or afraid. For example, that time of year thou mayst in me behold, line number 1. The speaker quietly admits that he is growing old. He doesn't shout or complain. He simply reflects. Another example, consumed with that which it was nourished by, line number 12. He observed how life and time are both beautiful and painful. This line is full of understanding, not bitterness. So, overall, the tone helps us connect emotionally. It shows us someone who is wise, peaceful, and prepared for what is coming. Now let's look at the mood. The mood is the feeling we get while reading the poem. At first, the mood is somber, serious, and sad, because we are thinking about aging and death. Number 2, quiet and thoughtful. We feel the slow fading of life. But then, in the last 2 lines, the mood shifts. For example, this thou perceived, which makes thy love more strong. Line number 13. Now the mood becomes comforting. Love is still there. Hopeful, the end of life makes love even more meaningful. Final mood. This poem might seem sad, but in the end, it's about something beautiful. Love that survives time, love that grows, even as life fades. Learners, here's what I want you to remember. This poem is about how life fades, but it's also about how love grows stronger. When we know time is short, it's honest, emotional, and full of quiet power. If you can understand the tree, the twilight, and the fire, you can understand the whole poem. This poem uses 3 big images to show the same truth. A tree in late autumn, a sunset fading into night, a fire burning out. All of them show that the speaker's life is nearly over. But his final message, because of that, his love is more powerful than ever. Learners, this sonnet isn't just about getting old. It's about appreciating the people you love before it's too late. Love doesn't disappear with time. It deepens. So, read this poem not just for marks, but for meaning. Let it remind you, time fades, but real love stays. If this lesson helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And remember, let's grow, let's learn, let's evolve together.